Let's have a chat now. ANC eThekwini elective conference taking place after much delays. And of course, this region will see going head-to-head Zandile Gumede, who is the ex-mayor, and the eThekwini municipal speaker, Thabani Nyawo. It's crunch time, others would say. However, of course, we have seen a lot of the conferences taking place under much contestation and even threats of court challenges. Let's speak now to political analyst Xolani Dube to get his analysis of what's going on there. Xolani, good evening, and thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on News at Prime. Regional conference in eThekwini underway after much delays. It has almost become part to the course, I suppose, when these ANC conferences are taking place. Even last week, we were talking of the Mpumalanga conference possibly being challenged in court, the eThekwini conference possibly being challenged in court. Is this going to be the norm, I suppose, on the build-up to the national elections of the ANC later this year?
I don't think that there are elections here, but it's just a recycling one and the same old people that the ANC the president of the ANC referred to them as suspects number one when it comes to corruption. And, you know, there's nothing really that you can expect from what has been termed by Kgalema Motlana as the gangster party. And so there are no elections here. But what we see is just these native cutthroating each other to be the best representatives of those who control the means of production in our country. Hence, there is no moral and ethics as a kind of a measure of those who are supposed to be elected and occupy this honorable position in so-called the ANC.
Yeah. Talk to me about that. Why do you mean when you say there are no moral and ethics when it comes to who is selected? I mean, of course, we are seeing, for example, in Mpumalanga, the Treasurer General being someone who is currently facing some kind of a criminal court case that is underway. We have also here a candidate who is in court for corruption. Is that what you mean about the criteria of credibility and integrity?
Look, precisely. You know, once someone is being a suspect of transgressing the morals and ethics of the society, and I don't think that that person, we need even to think of him or her taking a position of honor in our community. But in the ANC, because the ANC has got a different standard of moral and ethics, and even the ANC president in Mpumalanga never stood up and developed a spine behind his back and reprimand the people that is leading to say, comrades, you are so many here. Number of you are not suspect. The organization is undergoing what we call it a renewal. We need to be honest in this cause. Do you think that you are not capable of occupying such a position? Because most of you are not suspect. Yeah. Why are you elevating this person who is a suspect to lead you? And so, clearly, in a gangster party, the one who really, the tainted one, the feared one, the most dangerous gangster is the one who leads that particular gangster party. And so even here, we have to ask ourselves, if our president can't really stand up and fight for morals and ethics in his own political organization, what values he is himself aspire to the young South Africans who were told that the ANC is the leader of the society. And so ANC is no longer the leader of the society. And so anyone that is going to emerge in these spectacles that is going on, we have to assess that these are people who've got no moral and ethics.
Yeah. Who should we believe when they say we are going to renew this organization? Because it seems every side says, well, after we win conference, we will focus on rebuilding the ANC structures. It seems nobody is really confident that anyone who is in position right now is committed to that particular campaign of rebuilding the ANC, as if there is still somebody who is yet to come to rebuild this organization?
Look, as I always say, the ANC died with Johnny McCarthy, with Oliver Tambo, because post that, ANC was telling us about the RDP of the soul, remember? And from there, they told us about the new cadre. And now, that's where we are. We're talking about the renewal. This is the indication that the ANC's morals and ethics died with Oliver Tambo. We are being led by soulless people, who don't have compassion. Look at the scandals of Kolobeng. Look at the scandals of Marikana. Look at these massacres of lifeless city men. These are the indications that the people who are leading us are people who are soulless, people who don't have humanity, people whose their interest is to serve those who's got, what we call it, who owns the means of production in our country. And so such kind of people, let Thabo Mbeki refer to them as imgodoi. What can we expect?
So what do we say then to what the chairperson of the ANC in the province says? No, this conference is about, for example, 3 things. Evaluate the policies that are in place. We'll talk broadly on that. Let's talk about what he means by saying let's discuss a program of action. Is there a program of action? And of course, we've spoken about the election of leaders. Let's start with the first one, evaluating policy. Is there something wrong with the policy that needs evaluation in terms of relevance, in terms of effectiveness, and in terms of bringing about change in society?
Look, these guys have been in government for the past 27 years. And the natives have been trading with cheap labor to those who control the means of production. And when you go and look in so-called the reserves, where the natives are being stationed, and you will see in township, you will see in the rural areas that really the policies has not changed. The taxi still leaves township at 4 a.m., come back at 7 p.m. Black people are still selling their labor to the so-called white monopoly capital. And so there is nothing that has changed in terms of policy. These guys, they went to Pulugwane and they went to Nasrec. They adopted what we call it the radical economic transformation. Even today, we talk about land. We've been singing about land for years and for centuries. Even Jacob Zuma is the best singer when he's crying for land, but he was the president, remember. We had 2/3 majority. People are saying Thabo Mbeki was busy telling us about Shakespeare and T.S. Eliot and reciting poets. And today, we have EFF, we have IFP, we have ANC. Combined, they can give us 2/3 majority to change, not even violently, to change the constitution of this country. What stops them? What stops them is because all of them, they are the native administrators, and they administrate the natives on behest of the so-called the mineral energy complex, of which is the white people. And so I don't think that when Sihle Zikalala himself, when you go to KwaZulu-Natal and look at the skewed socio-economics that are happening there, you'll find that the so-called the native of that province are still the slaves in that particular province. And him and the ANC, they've been at the helm of this government for the past 15 years. And so when you talk about policy, I think they've understood as well as natives that we are people who don't have action. We are people who can't think. They can tell us anything at any time, and we'll keep on accepting.
So saying the people, the community of eThekwini should not expect any watershed, anything coming out of this particular conference. I mean, as you put it, the taxis will still travel the same route. The people who are away from the markets and the means of production would still be far off from the means of production. Nothing will change coming out of this policy, even if they sat and reevaluated and came up with a new program of action.
Look, you can't talk about policy change after 28 years being in power. What were you doing for the past 28 years? What were you been doing for the past 28 years? And you are telling us now about policy change. This guy has been the deputy secretary in this province of the governing party, as a secretary, and he became what you call it, the MEC for Economic Development. Today is the premier. Just go and do audit. How many so-called multimillionaires do we have from the native community? None. Go around the Umhlanga, the affluent suburbs, and look at the buildings and ask yourself, who owns these buildings? Let me tell you something. You won't find the so-called the natives. But here's a man who has been at the helm of a governing party. Today is telling us that there will be a policy change. Look, let us be honest. Those who still want to be fooled by the ANC, let him fool them. But number of natives are no longer going to accept that, and they are showing ANC in the last local government election that we are not going to accept this thing anymore.
As Xolani Dube, their political analyst, helping us in that conversation as the regional conference of the ANC is now finally underway following a number of delays, including some threatening to take this conference to court.